She starts off saying the MCU is not often associated with a sense of place, and the best thing that Ironheart has going for it is that it specifically takes place in Chicago. That's rude, because to say that the best thing about the show is that it takes place in Chicago, like, that just doesn't sound genuine, and it sounds very dismissive of the storyline, which of course she's about to dismiss the whole freaking storyline. Yes, it takes place in Chicago. There are Chicagoans in the show, and we film in Chicago. It seems to me like people got an issue that, it's not in LA or it's not in one of these other places. She even says something about the taxes. Like, that is harsh to be, when you're supposed to be talking, when it's supposed to be a review of this show. If Chicagoans are cast and the characters or the actors are proud Chicagoans, then that is gonna be a part of the, backdrop, the culture of the character. Everyone is aware that people from Chicago like it. So then she takes a jab at how the character started, was a random character in Black Panther. She calls it a less than ideal way to set up a protagonist. And now I'm wondering, like, do you even watch Marvel? It's a universe. Marvel Cinematic Universe. Characters come out of nowhere all the time. There's many different ways that a character is introduced and then later developed. I'm not a film nerd per se, so I'm not going to say that this is the first time that someone randomly showed up in a movie and then got a series all their own, but it could be, it could not be. I don't see what the problem is. There have been so many Marvel shows, and people are very tangentially related to the Marvel movie stars. So, okay, then she starts talking about how it's an issue that she is a small town, hero, possibly, that has small hero issues. It's an unusually pragmatic problem for a fictional universe that includes aliens and wizards. And now I'm wondering, do you even watch Marvel shows? Because Marvel shows deal with crime all the time. Yes, they're not wizards and aliens. They're, supposed to be people. They're mutants. The mutants in every movie and every show, they pop up with these abilities, and then they still have to deal with their regular lives. They deal with small problems, small communal issues. She joins a local heist crew, and down here she's saying, before we find out about the mystical, potential sinister origins of the villain's powers, we spend more time with accomplices, even though she just said it was a heist crew. So these are origin stories. Like, we don't always know what the danger is. Sometimes we don't know what the villain is doing or what the danger is until the very end. So again, I don't like what she's saying about this show. It's a very normal, run-of-the-mill Marvel show. But now she gets to talk about the accomplices. She mentions a somewhat famous comic for no reason other than just to name drop, and she mentions RuPaul's Drag Race. One of the other characters is, drag. Now we see why you're talking. You want to talk about controversy. You want to bring up the fact that, there's someone LGBT, because this is a small bit character in the crew. The crew is diverse, which you would find, if you're this girl who is, a young Black girl from the south side of Chicago. Yes, her crew is diverse. The people that this is wrong. And then here she's saying that the character is a nod to Chicago. I found that to be an odd, why? There are a lot of Chicagoans in the show. You just wanted to mention Drag Race and the bear. So apparently, all of this stuff is a lot for her because then Ironheart gets more emotional weight from Riri's backstory. So all of this stuff is just weight. Like all of this stuff that you mentioned is just weight. To me, it just sounds like setting. It sounds like setting and casting so far. So now, Ironheart's background is a trauma plot that has since worn out its welcome, and sepia toned flashbacks add little. So that's not cool. This girl is an origin story, and it tells you about how she's in the place where she's in. She did have an incredibly traumatic event. She lost her whole family except her mom, and she was there, and so this is emotional weight. Again, why are we upset about the things that make a story, the backstory, the things that informs the main character's decisions? It's giving you all don't care about people and their history, and that's not how you take in a story. That's not how you engage with what you're watching, and I don't like it. Spoiler, all of the characters in Marvel have a backstory. They all have shit that they went through that informs what they do. The ethics of artificial intelligence as a grieving aid are just one of many bites Ironheart takes that it can't chew. Miss me with that. She's grieving, and it's a real part of what's happening to her right now. As a matter of fact, like you say in here that she accidentally developed the AI. So how do the plot elements start to snowball? Your article is starting to snowball because you're pulling out every single thing that happens as if it's supposed to be bigger than it is and not just informing the story as a whole. And then you want to say that there's no good plot, there's no good story. Ironheart feels both physically and thematically separate from the MCU until this guy, who she wanted to bring up, appears connected. To say that this character is what makes it more MCU, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now, something might be, maybe you was sipping on something. As someone who watches a lot of Marvel shows and a lot of Marvel movies, like, they do have people that, they cross-reference. It's a universe. They come up all the time. This is not that. And it's not necessary either. You're watching the MCU universe. You know it's the story. You know it's in the universe. And a lot of times, it doesn't even matter that Hulk isn't around. The victims are too generic for the scores to be all that satisfying. Lets me know that you missed the point. Because it's a heist crew. They were attacking the tunnel system, which that doesn't seem very generic or small. It was the underground tunnel system. I don't feel like you know what you're talking about. I found that to be very satisfying. Then you took a dig at the lady who directs the second half. The first half was directed by a man. Oh, now the second half is messier. Now, I haven't seen the second half, but stories do tend to set up for the next appearance. That's what we're doing in all of these movies and shows. They're always setting up for the next appearance. And I mean, sometimes if it's done well, you don't notice, but not with the MCU universe. It goes on and on and on and on forever. As long as your hero doesn't die, there's going to be another thing that they have to save. Here's the best line. Ironheart is a compelling story about the limitations of genius. Whether to overcome a lack of money or bend laws of the universe like death. And therein is the connection to the Marvel Universe. That's what they do. That's what all of the stories are about. It's like cops and robbers, crime fighting, like good and evil. Like, do you watch movies? Do you read stories? Do you watch MCU shows? Second half premiering July 1st. Thank you. I'm so glad you included that. Appreciate it. That's the best. We needed that.